Welcome to the Art Colony, a podcast about art and art history in Provincetown. My name is Gaston Lacombe. In my opinion, the Provincetown Art Colony is not snobby. I'm not talking about the people here. I'm talking about the overall spirit that reigns over our art colony. The Provincetown Art Colony doesn't ask for your qualifications, for your degrees. It doesn't ask for your CV or a list of exhibits. It doesn't even really ask for an artist statement. Instead, the Provincetown Art Colony just offers its ear as you whisper, I think I want to be an artist. And then it extends a hand as if to say, come with me, we'll give it a shot. Our art colony doesn't care if you came from a prestigious academic background, or from the corporate world, or from working as a bartender or even a go-go boy, or as for today's guest, as an athlete. By allowing everyone a chance to chase their dream and express their voice, the Provincetown Art Colony keeps discovering untapped and surprising talents. And that is what keeps this art colony alive and thriving. So yeah, an athlete, now working as an artist on Cape Cod. Well, that's our guest today. So let's welcome to the Art Colony podcast, Cole Cook. How are you?
I am very well. Thank you so much.
You know, I think 4 episodes ago, we mentioned your name and I said, oh yeah, he's gonna come on a podcast soon.
I heard you say that and I said, I still haven't got my invitation. And then immediately I got the invitation.
Oh, there you go.
Very generous.
So tell our guests, who is Cole Cook?
I'm a sculptor. I am a human being. And I am a son. I am a sibling. I am a parent to my cats. I'm a whole bunch of different things. But I think for right now, for sitting in this room for this podcast, I'd like to be a sculptor. And I like to be all the things all at the same time.
Mhm.
I think this is an experience factory that generally. And so the experience of being a sculptor is a wonderful experience. I like all those experiences.
And I'm thinking back on all the guests we've had, I don't think we've had a sculptor, which is surprising.
We're a rare breed out here. I mean, I think you spoke eloquently about both the community of artists, and I hadn't put it together that well, but everything that you just said allows me to establish, the young career that I have. But there are not a lot of sculptors. This is a painter, I think, first. When you think about the visual arts, I think painters first. And then there's also a really dynamic history of writers here.
Mhm.
I don't know. Sculpture is also, it's complicated. It takes a bunch of time and energy and space and material
tools.
and tools and all
Yeah.
this nonsense.
Well, we'll get to talking about all that nonsense. But first, you have to tell us, where does Cole Cook come from?
Cole Cook came from my
We're going to do all of
folks.
this in the third person.
Sure. Well, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Where does Cole Cook come from?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we're talking about someone who's sitting over there. And
Yeah.
why not? Yeah, it's I was born in New York and I was raised in Los Angeles. Both of my parents are actors. So I joke that I'm a small town kid because those are big towns. So I grew up in the midst of it and in a artistic kind of oeuvre. Just the sense of both my folks are artists. My dad went to NYU and then dropped out. My mom went to Juilliard and didn't drop out. And that was how they supported us. My mother's now a poet after she was a teacher. So I got here through that kind of background of creativity. And then specifically how I got to Cape Cod as I was a summer person. I was one of those people that was absconded with. I have memories of my mom taking me and my siblings early on the last day of school. And then we went right to LAX and then landing the day before we had to go back to class the next day. So it was June, July, August, just expansive, endless summer. Like I was one of those people that really had that kind of like blissful experience on Cape. Yeah.
Let's go back to Los Angeles. We often hear, because your father was on TV for a long time,
Yeah.
we often hear about the children of actors going to school with all these other people that end up being famous actors and famous TV personalities. Was that your experience, or were you in a different kind of school, different type of environment?
Different kind of school, different type of environment. I went to a private school for 5th and 6th grade, and then I kind of like applied to all the kind of the hit list of private schools in Los Angeles, like Brentwood and Crossroads and Harvard Westlake and all these fairly famous schools because it's a city. And I went over the world. All of them are like absolutely not. So I went to a public high school. It's a charter school. It's in the Palisades, so it wasn't the public high school that I would have necessarily been like districted into, but it was a public high school. And there's 2,500 kids at my high school. There's 500 and something kids in my graduating class. It's just a lot of human beings. And there were some famous folks at my high school, like my buddy Mitch Schwartz, won the Super Bowl, but that's not an acting kid.
Yeah.
Like my little sister went to Wildwood, which was the acting school, and all of her friends were children of stars. And some of those people, Joey Brooks is doing really cool stuff right now. My father, who I call PC because it's Papa Cook or Peter Cook or whatever it is. It's different than his acting name. But PC will say he just didn't want us to be actors. He didn't like he didn't like what he saw from children. My dad's also a comedian, so we're like funny on purpose, a comedic actor. So as I look, a lot of what he said was meant to kind of like get a response. So if we really, really, really had wanted to be actors, I'm sure he would have gotten out of the way and supported us, but he was definitely not like bringing us to an audition and showing the casting director, like, I got a little cute kid. It was none of that we were really invited to. But we were invited to set, and being on set as an 8-year-old is fantastic. It's just make believe. It's just play pretend. It's so exciting, and you get to roll around, and especially like on sitcom sets where they would have like, the friend's coffee shop is here, and then the friend's Joey's apartment is here, and then I didn't watch the show. Phoebe's apartment is there, so they can just shoot it. If they're only shooting this one, I can just go and hang out on the other set, and there's like a million props, and as long as you're not loud, you get to like look around. It's an observing thing. And I also got to watch my father be an actor. Like, I think the first time I saw my father take his moment before really, really changed my understanding of what he was doing. I was always like, oh, this is really cool. He can do this thing. And then he was doing a scene in which he had to do, I don't forget what the scene was. And I watched him kind of like bring this stuff together, even for tape, which you don't have to do it the first time. We can cut, we can try that again, more or less. But to watch him bring this into focus was an incredible thing. So yeah, for me, that was the kind of the background experience that I got from my dad.
And were you surrounded by other ways of being creative? I mean, did any of that lead to you being a sculptor now on Cape Cod?
100%. All of it did.
All of it, yeah.
It's just not a straight line because of baseball. I also am fascinated by, you said go-go boy and then baseball player, and I was like, those are basically the exact same thing.
I said athlete.
Pardon me, you said athlete. But I was like, that's the same thing. I'm just gonna like do an entertaining thing for a while. Baseball definitely came in and gave my life a lot of direction. I was very talented at baseball very early. Baseball is an interesting thing because if a child is very, very talented at baseball or at any sport or a number of sports, adults will come in and provide structure to that child's life because it's their job. That's how they provide a life for their children, is to identify young athletes and then be like, okay, Gaston, like, thank you so much for swimming so fast. What are you doing next Saturday? What are you doing for the next 4 years? You want to go to Berkeley? What are you doing in 2026? You want to go to Beijing? Like, adults will decide, and it's not decide for you. Like, I was not taken. I wasn't like, but there is this real sense of you get put on a thing.
You were shepherded through
Yeah.
it, yeah.
And I wanted all those things,
Mhm.
but it did mean that my creativity took a backseat to athleticism. And as I look back now, I pitched in a very artful way. Um, and I think every pitcher pitches in a very artful way. I've taught pitching for a decade. I've pitched for 2 decades. It's an artful, like, you literally, like, you make a pitch. You create it. You it is a thing that is made in the same way that you would make, like, a painting or a piece of, food. Like, it is preparation. But baseball as a job is not very gentle and is not very artful, and I didn't find to be very open-minded or very kind. So when I think about that move of, like, where did the art that I grew up around have an influence on what the art that I'm doing now, it essentially, I'm not one of those people, to quote my friend Pete Hawking's parents, "That wasn't my background radiation." Was not, "There's no jobs on Cape Cod. Artists don't make money and artists are queer." I stayed inside because my dad was an artist. I have clothes, I have food, and, like, all of those things. I mean, like, there is a sense of, it was legitimized. Like, yes, it is absolutely a job that you can do. My friend Andy's mom is a lawyer. My friend Debbie's mom is an interior designer. My mom is a poet, and my dad is an actor. It's just, those are the jobs that people do.
Yeah, that's slightly unusual because I'm also from sort of the same background as Pete, where there were no artists, and that was not a job that was available, was not an option. And, to say all of a sudden, "Well, I'm gonna be an artist," people would think you're completely nuts.
Right,
They would go, "Well, there's a job as a night security guard at the store. Why don't you do that instead? You'll
right.
make money. You'll have a stable position." So yeah, it's unique to have a background where you have a lot of people around you who are making a living from art.
My mother and my mom is very close. She lives in Truro. Um, my mom and I are very close. We talk, or she talks with me, and now we talk about it together. She talks about understanding what it is you want to be afraid of. Um, that night security guard might be afraid of the day his weekend ends, right? I'm just, ugh, I know that it's Sunday's coming, Monday's coming next. He was kind of afraid of Monday. Now, pardon me for using the word afraid, but whatever. Lamenting, not looking forward to. So that could be one of them. Or it could be the end of the month and you have to pay rent and you have to pay things and you have to. What do you want to be afraid of? What is it that's the thing? And I don't have any insight into what other people think or should think or all of those things. But when I think about myself, um, that's a big thing for me. I'm also interested in the fact that my big brother is a full-on doctor.
Doctor,
He's
not a
like, "Yeah,
not a TV
not a TV
doctor.
doctor. Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Nope." He goes to work on Mondays, and then it's
yeah.
and the thing.
Were you a professional baseball
I
player?
was a professional baseball
Yeah,
player. So it gets it. Let's just address that. I mean,
yeah.
whatever. Professional baseball player means you get paid to play baseball.
Uh-huh.
That's what that means. If you're a professional podcaster, it means you get paid to play
Oh,
podcasts.
there are some
I think
there are
it's
people that get paid for
I
this?
think it's most of the political discourse in this country.
Okay.
Anyway, let's leave it.
Yeah.
The professional just means that. So every once in a while, people will talk about pro and semi-pro in baseball, which is a whatever. Essentially, that means that there are affiliated minor league teams and non-affiliated minor league teams. I'm going to go through this quickly. The Major League Baseball, which is like the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Red Sox and all those guys. I never played in the major leagues, and the major leagues is the top level of professional baseball. And then under that are the minor leagues. Each major league team, the Yankees, has 5 minor league affiliates: AAA, AA, high A, low A, and rookie ball. 5 affiliates. I've played every single level of those things. I've played every single level of the minor leagues, which is professional baseball. I didn't get my chance in the big leagues. I would have loved it. And I just didn't want to at a certain point. And I realized that, and like, I also wasn't given the opportunity. It wasn't like they asked and then I said no.
Yeah.
But when I was looking at the walk that I had to do, the journey I had to do, the work that I had to do. I said, that's not the experience that I want. It was an interesting experience to get to professional baseball. I realized I wanted to play pro ball at like 12. When you have no idea what being a professional is, you have no idea what being a professional baseball player is, you don't know what it being an adult is. So I had this dream and I did this dream, but I found myself fairly unhappy in my professional baseball experience. And that was interesting for me because usually, or for me, I didn't think to look at maybe this thing that I've been trying to achieve for the past 20 years is the reason that I'm actually not as happy as I want to be. And that exact experience has impacted a lot of how I live my life now. And
And where was the breaking point that led you to leave baseball and led you on to the path that you're on now?
I've had a journalistic practice for about 15 years now. I started it in 2010, and I started it in Los Angeles International Airport, which is always a great place. You always want to start a journalistic practice in an airport. But I had like one of those like flip moleskins, like the reporter ones that don't flip open like a book, but like flip this way, and you can like jot down notes still. And I kept it in like my interior pocket of my little sport coat that I was wearing deal. And I would go around and I'd jot down notes and I'd jot down notes and I'd jot down notes. And when I was in New York, I was hanging out with exclusively artists. It was like my buddies who were on Broadway, which is like a cool thing. But like I had these friends that were doing cool things and like singing and like doing stand up. And so I spent a week just like chasing artists around the city. I watched some do plays. I watched some do all this stuff. Went to a cool like I don't know, like a cool party. And I was like, this is the coolest party I've ever been to. Like a walk up deal. Everyone like was an interesting. And I was like, this is it. This is so interesting. And on that trip, I was walking in Manhattan, and it was like this idea like jumped out from behind a taxi cab, which was just like, what if you just stop playing baseball? And I'd never had that idea before. It just never wasn't an idea that I had had. And it was one of those things where once I had it, I couldn't put it down. And then that idea kind of, well, what if you were an artist? And it took me 12 years to plant that flag after I retired. I retired, I moved to New York City. I went to the entire UCB comedy school, which is like Amy Poehler and Matt Walsh and those guys. So like I, I I don't have a like you're saying, like um I don't have a mass art degree. I don't have the thing. I have a improv degree, if such a thing exists. But I went to New York. I think I retired from baseball and searched for an artistic pursuit. Um, and these are the types of things that I can only kind of really understand and see in hindsight. There was no sense of like, oh, I know what I'm gonna do. I was also 24. I mean, I literally just just figuring it out. Um, but I think I was searching for another artful expression that had different whatever it was to a different apparatus to it. And so I left baseball and then I was like, oh, I'm going to move to New York. And I did UCB and I did improv and I tried to be a writer. And again, like my dad can open a whole bunch of doors and he opened a whole bunch of doors. And then Me Too happened. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure if this is not fun. Seems like everyone that I take seriously is not nice. And it's also a really tough industry. Everything you said about Provincetown isn't really true of New York and Los Angeles when the
Mhm.
Hollywood scene. It's fairly
Absolutely.
sharp elbows. So then I was a private pitching coach for 10 years, and that was what it was. That was an experience. And then in 2021, in the pandemic, I went to my dad. I had gone through a breakup, and it was the pandemic. I don't know if anyone had a great time. And if you did, I'm really happy you had a great time. What an experience. Um, but I went to my old man and I was like, Dad, I feel just completely lost. Like I feel disconnected. I don't understand what I'm doing. I don't understand where I'm going. Like, I just wanna go to Cape Cod and just sit there in that house and bring my cats and just sit there Like, it wasn't even like I didn't look for answers. I'm like, I didn't look for questions, love. Like, we are so far back on the board. And I remember, to your point, my dad just being like, go to just go to Cape Cod then. Like, this is a dumb. You came to me like pretending this is a hard thing. You already solved it. And I was just like, the idea. I'm stubborn enough and annoying enough that I would have done it anyway. But doing something with the wind at your back as opposed to the wind at your front is a different experience. And now my studio is my father's workshop because I stole it from him because I'm bigger than he is. That experience of having them behind me was incredibly important. And that's how I got out here about 4 years ago now, 5 years ago.
Welcome back. A reminder to follow us on Instagram at the Art Colony Podcast. And also, if you'd like to help us out and support the podcast, you can do so at buymeacoffee.com. You can go there and look for the Art Colony Podcast and leave us a tip to help us maintain this podcast on the air. And I'd like to thank Patty for her very generous gift. Thank you, Patty. So yeah, we got to the point now where you're on Cape Cod and you're about to start creating art. So tell us, what is your art? What is it that you create?
I make wood sculptures, and I make a bunch of different types of things, because I am a young artist and I am searching around a lot. I like wood sculpture because of the truthfulness that I find in it. When I was writing, I would write something, and similar to when you were like, "Hey, who is Cole?" And then I had a conniption, and you're like, "This is a really straight answer, love." You can just be like, "I am," but I couldn't because I was in a trillion different things. I had a hard time writing something and then reading it and then being like, "That's true." I don't mean it's true in the sense that like I'm sitting here. I mean it's true like a wave is true. Like it's true, like I believe in it. Um, and I can always look at a piece of writing or an idea and be like, yes, I believe a wave is true. And also, if someone tells me that they don't think it's true, I'm empathetic enough to be like, 100%, dude. I'm sorry that whatever. Okay. This kind of very Libra. Hey, what if every
Oh my God,
single
another
option?
Libra.
Come on. It's the one. Are you a Libra too?
Yeah, I'm a Libra. Yay.
So that's the most like I don't understand all of my astrological background, but that sense of like I'd love a lemonade and you're like it's always just going to be both options. I can see things from other. So making a sculpture, maybe because it's quiet in the same way, it can be true. Not every sculpture I make is true. I don't think anyone's that good, and if you are, it's boring. But like I can make things that I feel are true. And that's a wonderful thing. I I took a piece of, like, completely decaying pine that I found on the side of Route 6 and just put in the car because you can just take wood. Um, and I was carving it with like, a, a router, which is just about the most dangerous thing you can do. So none of it was right. But I made one piece of one hand that I understood was evocative of actually what I was going for. And the experience of carving the first time felt very similar to doing psychedelics in the sense of it was completely expanding. Time does that thing that time does where it just falls off any sense of tick. It could have been 20 seconds. It could have been 20 years. I was just in it. My body was moving. My hands were moving. To be clear, I wasn't on psychedelics, but it was an interesting, the expansiveness of that moment hit me with this kind of like, oh, I'd been looking for you. Like, that's really cool. And I have that first piece. It's a hand that I carved out of pine. And I was a little bit biting, the Sistine Chapel and that finger moment. I really like hands. I can model them myself. I've got cool hands. I'm also like a big Rodin fan, so you're like, well, the hands and the hands and the hands. but it was just one part. It's just the outside of a thumb. Nothing else on the sculpture is right, but that was right, and I was like, "That's enough for me." Like, golfers will talk about, like, it takes one good shot a year to maintain being a golfer. Like, I'm not a golfer, and we should probably not have as many golf courses, but, like, I understand that high of chasing that one feeling. Like, yeah, absolutely, and that was good enough for me.
And you work with wood. Was that how it started with that one piece of wood that you found on the side of the road? Or did you also experiment with like stone and clay and other 3D ways to create art?
No, it was wood. I have a connection to trees. I think everybody has a connection to trees, but I feel an emotional connection to trees. Like I said, I was one of those true, like, latchkey summer kid people, and I'm second. I got a big brother, and Niles loves a group. Ugh, he loves it. Oh my god. Give him a camp. Give him an activity. Give him a summer thing. It's his favorite day. It's not. And my parents, as I'm old enough now, that they wanted us to go to camp because they love us and stuff like that, but they also wanted us to go to camp so that we wouldn't be there and we wouldn't be loud. So Niles, my big brother, if he didn't go to camp, he's gonna follow you around all day being like, "Do you wanna play a game? Do you wanna go to the thing? Do you wanna do this stuff?" If you don't bring me to camp, there were 2 giant oak trees on the property. Oak trees do a really cool thing in the forest that they push out all the other trees with their branches, and if you are 7 or 6 or a child, and you walk into a forest, and you're walking through a pine forest, which is fairly close, into the expanse under an oak tree, and there's branches that are 3 feet off the ground, and they go for 3 feet off the ground, 20 feet, and you can walk on them. It is I'm done. I'm done. Like, you're gonna have a hard time bringing me back into the house. That's gonna be the annoying part. So for a long time, like, I just had his connection of these are breathing, living, beautiful entities. I never felt that with stone. Doesn't mean that stone doesn't have that, just means I don't feel it. In my experience, it's not what I feel. Um, and in that summer house on the Cape, in the way that children can watch adults, and I think it's a very it's a type of learning that I lament not being able to access as an adult. Um, but I would just come down and sit next to my dad when he was fixing the front to a cabinet or something like that. Like, if something broke in the house, someone was gonna fix it. We were gonna get a new one, or someone was gonna fix it. And, like, really basic woodworking, but you're just clamping something, and then you drill the pilot hole, and then you find the screw, and then you put the screw on the and I'm just sitting there, and they're not explaining it to me, and I'm not asking any questions. But what's happening is the fear, the sense of, "I don't know how these tools work," falls away. When we showed up, your producer, Chad, is a lovely human being, has a great studio. This is a cool studio. I've never been in this room before. It's like this. I love the secrets of Truro. And I go and look at the soundboard, and your question
You
was
meant
like,
Provincetown. The secrets of
"Oh,
Provincetown.
pardon me, pardon me." And the secrets of all these different places. You
Yeah.
get to. I went and looked at the soundboard, and you were like, and I was like, well, I haven't worked in sound, but I have watched folks because my dad had to go to an ADR session, which is when you record audio they didn't get on the thing. So I'm 7 and I'm sitting back there, and there's 2 no, I don't know how it works, but I have a sense of, "Oh, I bet I could understand it because I've watched people do it." And that sense of just, like, watching is I think is a fantastic way to learn. And so it gave me a sense that when I had that piece of wood and there were a bunch of tools laying around, I was like, "I bet I could figure out how to make this smaller."
And I've been to your studio. You have a lot of tools.
I've
And that
got a
was
lot
actually
of
part of
tools,
my
man.
questions. Like, um, how did you learn to use all these tools? Because they're all very different from one another.
Yes, this is where baseball became one of the things that I knew I could learn quickly if I understood what I wanted to do. Because the process of becoming a baseball player and the process of becoming a sculptor are very, very similar things. You're essentially saying, "I want to do this thing is hard," and most people, if I meet them at the grocery store, and I say, "Excuse me, hi, I'm 34. I'm trying to become a professional sculptor. I didn't go to art school. Thoughts, feelings, ideas?" They'd be like, maybe that night job. Go be 12 and just walk up to people and be like, I'm 12. I'm decided I'm going to be a professional baseball player. You get the same thing. I had family members being like, hey, maybe think about a backup. And luckily, I had parents that were like, never say that to my son again. Don't do that to him. The world will kill his dreams. You don't need to do that for a child. So it's similar in the sense of like, okay, great. So when I realized that I wanted to do this, I'm addicted to YouTube. I'm on Instagram a lot. Just go follow a bunch of people that are better at you at this, and then find a way to learn secondarily. I was never sitting down. I've gone to some classes, but it's not the way I learn because I don't know if every single Tuesday at 3 I'll want to listen to you. And now I appreciate that is an annoying affectation. Fine. And it's who I am, so I'm just not pushing myself to do that thing anymore. I know that I can watch a documentary and then do the thing and then show up and then I'm curious about this. When I first started doing this, I did get the piece of advice every once in a while, you should go to a class. I think I'm a much better student now for a whole bunch of different reasons. I know what I want to learn. I know what I'm not good at. And also, mostly I wanted just to experiment and fail and play, and I'm good. Just leave me alone. Just put me in this room alone, give me some wood, and I'll figure it out, or I won't. But it's just my, pardon me, it's just my thing. And now I think because I've used some of those tools, I'm like, okay. And then there's also that thing like I use a Fordham a lot, which is a flex shaft tool. The jewelers will know it. It's a really cool tool. It's essentially just like a grinding machine. And the first time I got this, I got it from an actual brick and mortar store. There's one, I think it's Attleboro or something like that. Wonderful old gentleman who runs this store, and it's like packed to the gills deal, and it's got like decoy ducks, and it's incredible. And he's like, you're gonna need to get 2 flex shafts, and you're gonna need to get some grease, and you're gonna need to grease it every week. And I was like, sweetheart, I'm not greasing my Fordham. Like I pinky swear. Flash forward, you just do it. You just do it. And the same time, the first time you sharpened a chainsaw, you're like, uh-uh. Only witches and Wiccan can do this. The first time I put together a PC and you plug something into a motherboard, you're like, and then you do it, and then you plug it in. I don't know. Like there is a real sense of just like make the iron hot by striking. Just get in there and mess some things up. I think finding places where you can fail safely can be a wonderful place to learn. If I put you in a cage, like a batting cage, and just gave you 100 baseballs, you can't hurt yourself. Everyone just throw them around. You're not throwing them. There's a sense of like, I need to play catch. No, that's a perfect place to fail. Just play. This is exciting to you. Just play. And so I had a wood shop, and there's a bunch of wood on the ground. And I started with pine, which is a wood that I never work with now because I know more about wood. I know what hardwood and softwood are. Didn't know what that was, but it was play. And there was enough that I was like, this is as interesting as I've ever experienced this experience. So I'm going to stick with this.
You were just talking about selecting wood. One thing you might not know about me is that my father's a woodworker. After my father retired at age 53, which is pretty early, he just built himself a wood shop in the backyard. And he's now turning 80 this year. So for the last almost 30 years now, he's been making patio furniture and making a whole bunch of stuff. But my father, he will go in the forest, choose a tree, cut it down, make his own planks, bring it. He has his own wood mill. He does everything by himself. But he's very picky. He needs to work with cedar. Like he's very picky about which wood he's going to work with. Are you like that as well? Is there like one wood that is yours, or do you find different qualities and different types of woods?
Different qualities and different types of woods.
Yeah.
And that's very much the person I am. I will usually pick whoever's not making me choose. Like that's the person. I'm an outdoor cat. So there's this sense of like, I can wax poetic about Eastern red cedar. It's got this beautiful red color to it. I think most people know what cedar smells like. Putting your nose in freshly cut cedar tree is an ecstatic experience.
That's my father's workshop right there.
That's
Yeah.
it, that's it. So, like, that one, like, my friend Aaron Paskauskas, who's a wonderful, wood sculptor, one of the other wood sculptors out here, we do exist. He said that wood helped him fall in love with woodworking. I work in walnut a lot because of especially I sand to a super high finish, and walnut can get this translucent quality, like you're looking into honey. And then you see a spruce, and then I saw catalpa the other day, and I mean, not the other day. You say yes, and then I don't know. I think you can be in love with somebody and appreciate the beauty of other things. Like both and is so much over and over and over again where I want to be. Um, and so even in this, there's a resistance to picking just one. I don't
Hmm.
want to. I want to experience.
And where do you get your wood?
I get my wood almost exclusively from a place called Plymouth Plywood. No, that's not true. Plymouth Live Edge, which is a wonderful little woodmonger. I don't know if you're actually a woodmonger, but I think if you can be a cheesemonger,
You could be a
you could be a
woodmonger. Why
woodmonger.
not?
Um, it's just kiln dried. It's just at this point. I've like I said, I work in a couple different avenues. I make figural work. I make kind of sculptural abstract work, and I'm fairly well known for doing these flat sand pattern pieces. For I just need live edge slabs for those, and wood on Cape Cod, for all of its beauty, is small. I mean, even Thoreau was like, they have tiny trees, and they're weirdly proud of them. We're like, yes, we are. Get out of here. We just don't have giant wood. I mean, the giant wood is in America, is in the Pacific Northwest. You get to Canada, and you're like, Pacific Northwest is a good start. I work with mostly small wood, but where I get it is important because that's the canvas. So I need it to be kiln dried, not have any defects and stuff like that. Or if it does have defects, then that's going to be what we're talking about. We're going to talk about that scar. We're going to center that lightning strike or whatever it is, and the piece by therefore becomes about experience, and it comes about healing.
Michelangelo,
Yes.
talk about sculptors. He would say that, he takes a block of marble and then he liberates the shape, the person, the whatever that's inside of it. He just liberates it
Mhm.
from the stone. So when you look at a piece of wood, do you already have an idea of what you want to sculpt?
Oh
Or
yeah.
do you just look at the piece of wood and then that's what tells you what to do? Do you
So
liberate something from the piece of wood?
I was having I was in the studio this morning, and I had more of a creative experience because mostly I know exactly what I'm going to, and now that I've gotten a little better, my task is being able to match the the work that I want to make to the wood that will hold it most eloquently. So it's not just picking any piece of wood and then I sit there and I go, "Oh, this isn't picking or the thing, this isn't." That's one of my jobs is to understand, to be able to look into wood essentially and make guesses about what grain is telling me, what density is telling me, what figure is telling me in this piece of wood that is trapped. But the fact that there is the sculpture in there frees me. So, like, my best friend on Cape is Pete Hawking, and Pete's a painter. The idea that you would start with 0 and then make a painting is is terrifying to me because you have to make that painting. I don't have to I mean, like, I appreciate that this is, like, a little bit lofty, but for me, it's a safety rail that if what I have in my brain is smaller than what I have in front of me, what I want still exists as a potential thing. And that's actually fairly easy. I just have to keep making it smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. You can't take an empty piece of paper, I was drawing my girlfriend like 3 weekends ago. We were drawing each other. It was a cute little moment. We were drawing each other, and I'm drawing her, and I'm not a drawer, and I'm drawing her. And I laughed about as hard as I've ever laughed in my entire life because all I could think about is if I was like a soldier in the 1800s and we're getting bombed, and I'm like, oh, got to see a picture of my love. And I pull it out, and it's just like a lizard person. It barely looks like a person, let alone the woman. Like it's in. I can't do it with my hand. But if I had a block of wood and enough time and reference photos, I'm like, yeah, I bet I could come up with a pretty cool likeness. So for whatever reason, the dyslexia in my own brain, dyslexia is something that my mother is a expert in. She learned how to teach dyslexic students to read. That was most of her teaching life. So she understands dyslexia quite well. My sister and I are both dyslexic. My brother less so. I have a hard time reading out loud. Words are shapes to me, but it also means that my visual brain, my spatial awareness in my brain is incredibly high. I can imagine a chair. I can flip it around. I can spin it. I can take one of the legs off. I didn't know everyone couldn't do that until I was like 18 years old. I was in a guitar lesson once at 20. Later than that, I'd retired. I really wanted to learn guitar. I was searching around for my art. I was searching for it. I had this beautiful guitar teacher, and he explained to me, he's like, when I mean that something is in the same key, it means it rhymes. And I was like, oh my God, that makes sense for the first time. And I had tried my learning. And I would be like, okay, I'm going to fail in a way that I know I can fail. Just buy a guitar, sit in your house. Easy way to fail. Just fail. Learn secondarily. Just watch a bunch of YouTube things. Great. And I was doing the thing that I know how to do. And he was explaining something to me about guitar. And I was sober and I was listening and I can speak English. And I really wanted to learn about guitar. And then he went, do you understand? And it was amazing because I can't even tell you what he was talking about. I understand it so little. And it was a really important, because I was teaching baseball at that point, and I thought I was a pretty good baseball coach. And I'd come to some children. I was teaching mostly adolescents at that point, and I'd be like, Gaston, do you understand what I just said? And then every once in a while, a kid beautifully open-heartedly would say, no, Cookie, I don't. And in the parts where I wasn't being generous, I would find my own like, oh, come on, I just explained it. And that moment of realizing, oh, I literally just, my brain can't do that or won't do that right now or whatever, was a wonderful opening moment for me in my own limitations. And that limitation is an invitation to explore the shape of your brain. It's just small in certain points, but that means it's big in others. So like, yeah, that was an interesting being able to think visually, I think.
And you were saying you can see space, you can see shapes in your brain and
Yeah.
rotate them. And I've been seeing a lot more of your work lately that's 3D.
Yes.
Because when I first got to meet you, like, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago? A lot of your work was mostly flat.
Mhm.
And now I'm seeing you create like full arms and more 3D work.
All of that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, I think it's just one of it is just kind of like leave the petri dish for a while and the life's going to get more interesting. And also, like you're saying, going back to that question about Michelangelo, most of the time I'm going to the sand flats, I'm taking a photo, I've learned how to transpose that photo from visual information into a sculpture. So by the time that I put the stencil down, essentially, I'm projecting the stencil onto the piece. I'm just following the directions. It is a paint by numbers at that point. And I've seen, without speaking out of turn, some of your canvases, and you can look at it and go like, well, yeah, but getting there is a whole thing.
Yeah.
I do have to get there, but once I'm there, I'm like, I just follow the instructions now. Okay, fine. As I start working more 3D, this morning I was sitting there and having this kind of dance with this piece. And I looked at it and I was like, there's an object that I'm copying. But I don't work for that object. It doesn't need to be perfect. What I want the sculpture to be is true. So it was one of those things where today there was definitely this sense of like, it is factual because it looks like that thing. but it's not true yet because I've made it too factual. Like a great director doesn't show you every single blade of grass in the pasture. A great director makes you feel like you're in a pasture. I don't entirely know what to do. If I were a great director, I'd be like, okay, can you say more things? Because I don't know what that means. But there's part of me that does key into being factually accurate and being true aren't always the same thing.
So, Cole, we have to make sure we tell our listeners where they can see what you're producing and what you're making. So, tell us about your social media presence.
My social media presence is on Instagram primarily, Cape Cod trees. Uh, maybe it should be called Cold Cook Sculpture, but I love Cape Cod trees. I think I was making like tree outlines, like one of the first things I made.
And yeah, that's what I have at home. I have a print of one of your
That's
trees.
right.
Yeah, I
And then
do.
so they went from outlines to the things to
Yeah.
I am fascinated with trees. Like that late light, that screechy electric blue behind a dead tree. I think I'm gonna probably spend my whole life trying to get to the truth of that image. And that's the first thing that I was like, I want to make that. So that's why Cape Cod trees, but that's what the handle is. And it's Instagram is the my primary social media. And
But I want to say, your Instagram account, it's not just, a stream of pictures. You work really hard at it. You have a lot of videos explaining your process, explaining the way you arrived at a piece, talking about tools. You use all sorts of like visual effects. You're really good at it. Better than me, anyways.
sure. I don't love Instagram. I don't think Meta is a nice business.
No.
And I don't think social media is an effective use of human beings' time and energy. Full stop. I want to live this life and be a creative person. And one of the things that I was experiencing as I first came and experienced the truth of that in me, the truth of that idea in me, I was like, oh, I don't know how to begin. I don't know how to begin doing this. It doesn't, I could sign up for an art class, but that's not really me. If I were 6 and I wanted to play handball, I'd sign up for a handball. Like, I understood that. So for me, Instagram is a way to have it be costume before it's clothes. And just to try. I have, especially when young people, and like every once in a while, someone will come to me and be like, "Hey, I want to do this. Would you mind talking to me about it?" And I'm always so blown away that they would care at all. But every once in a while, I'll talk to some people, and I was the person who would get in the shower, get in his car, drive from Truro to Provincetown, and it was winter because I'm here year round. Park right in front of the gallery, look inside, get socially awkward, get scared, not get out of my car, and then drive my car back to Truro and sit back in my house and just be in my house because it was easier. And that's perfectly fine. And I understand why I did that. And I forgive myself. And it's make whatever choices you wanted to make yourself safe, Cole. So completely understand that. In the same way that Instagram, I am being somebody, I am portraying something. It's my father's moment before. That's what we're getting back to. I realized that if I got in the shower and picked out the outfit and got in my car and drove to Commercial Street and parked my car, I could get out of the car if I convinced myself that I was Cole Cook the Sculptor. And that's what I was doing. In improv, if you're going to come off the back wall, and I had to say, "Hey, Gaston," that's not doing a lot. I don't know who I am. I'm not sure who you are. But if I come to the back wall and go, "Hey, Chef Gaston," well, suddenly I'm from Texas or something, or wherever that accent is from, and you're a chef.
I'm always a chef. Whenever there's a Gaston showing up anywhere, it's a chef or a butler or something, except in Beauty and the Beast where I'm the bad guy.
You're not the person with the
No, in Beauty and the Beast, I'm the bad guy. And I have the great song.
That's a
Anyways,
good point. That's
and yeah,
true.
and on your social media, well, you'll get to know your two housemates.
That's true. Alpha and Omega, my
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful witchy cats.
Now you have to tell our listeners what you built for your cats.
I
'Cause
built my cats a 2-bedroom catio.
a catio.
A catio. My cats live better than some of my friends. They got a giant. This is what happens. Like I am witchy enough I asked my cats when I was looking for a house, I was like, girls, I'm not sure if I can do this on my own. Like, get in there and go find me, like, you don't have a job. Like, find me a house come on. And so they did. And one of my campaign promises was I was like, if you guys get me a house, I will build you a catio. Because they were indoor, outdoor in Los Angeles when there were cars, but cars don't hunt cats like Fisher cats and coyotes like hunt cats. So I was like, y'all, I love you so much. I would love for you to experience Cape Cod outside. I don't have the emotional fortitude to drive a half-eaten cat to the VCA in Harwich at 2:00 in the morning. And I would, because I love these girls completely. But what I did for them was made a catio. And then every once in a while, I get all hopped up on excited and like make a cat tree or put a plants in it.
Yeah, your catio keeps on expanding. So a catio, for those who don't understand, it's a patio that is screened in and enclosed so that
Yeah.
the cats can have easy access from indoor to outdoors and spend this time outdoors
Outside.
safely
Yes.
within a large screened in enclosed space.
Also, I would love to pretend that I'm interesting enough to come up with catio, and I probably would try, but it's like a thing. It's like you can just like put in hashtag cat. It's like there's companies that like make this. I'm pretty sure there's like a Cape Cod catio. There's a tongue twister.
Cape Cod catio.
We nailed that.
Okay, well, we have to get to the speed round. We could sit here and talk for hours.
Seriously.
But our listeners will want us to, reach an end at
That's
some
a good
point.
point.
So you've listened to this before. Oh, by the way, before I forget, you mentioned Pete Hawking before. In case some of our listeners are not familiar with Pete Hawking, you can just go back 4 or 5 episodes. We did a whole episode with Pete Hawking earlier.
Worthwhile episodes.
Fantastic guy.
Worthwhile.
And yes, so we're now going to go to the speed round. And you know how this works. I give you 2 choices. You pick one, and then you have to justify your choice.
Part of it.
And the first question does link with Pete Hawking because you two walk a lot. You go on long excursions all around the Cape. So do you prefer oceanside or bayside?
It depends on the time of day and what we're looking at. So
come on, choose one.
Nope. I'm a Libra. So you walked into the hard one. So because the sunset sets over the bayside, if you invite me on a walk at like anywhere past like 4, like in the evening hours, and you're like, hey, let's go off of Fox Bottom, I'll think you're a weird person. Because it's a little bit like there's a giant thing happening and we're going on the wrong side of it. So as ever, I can't pick, and I walk mostly on the bayside. My house is on the bayside, and Bound Brook Island, which is one of my favorite walks on the planet, maybe my favorite walk on the planet, are bayside. So bayside kind of does win.
Okay. In your work, because you talked about both aspects of this, will be interesting to see what you answer. Do you prefer planning or improvising?
I prefer planning. I use the skills that I learned in improv all the time. I need to write Amy Poehler a letter because she's impactful in my life and she's changed how I think. But the idea of one of the UCB tenets is if this is true, what else is true? And so I use that to not get stuck in my studio. And there's that word again. If you can make this, then what else exists? So the improv exists conceptually. And then once I have those concepts, I really want to be safe and know what I'm going to do. And a big part of that also is to honor the wood. Because if I make a mistake, I used a tree, and that tree is alive. And I believe in the life of that tree, and I want to honor the life of that tree. So I don't want to just discard things because it was frivolous.
And that leads also to my next question. I don't know too much about woodworking, but do you prefer new wood or old wood?
Old.
I guess it has to be old, right?
Has to be old. I will carve green sometimes, but it's like a thing that you do. And then you really have to, I mean, I want my work to be lived with, to be owned by other people and for them to have an experience with it. And if you're going to give somebody a sculpture And just like, hey, listen, Gaston, like this is going to keep cracking. And this shape that you might like might substantially change. That bowl might break in half. There are some people, my mother would love that. She'd love that. She's a witch. Other people say, no, thank you. And so both and. I don't need to pick. But I tend to work with older kiln dried wood.
Mhm.
Also, young wood is small. Old wood is big.
True. Now, in your house, in your catio, and all these things, do you prefer decorating or landscaping?
Decorating.
Decorating, really? I thought you would have said landscaping.
So would I. I want to prefer landscaping, but
Yeah?
I'm a woodworker, and I think woodworkers and gardeners are similar. My mother's a gardener. My father's a woodworker. My mother and gardeners have a tendency to wait and to see what happens. It's a very generous, very patient form of love. If a woodworker makes a dovetail joint, it's a dovetail joint. It's a dovetail joint. It'll be a dovetail joint tomorrow. And then in 4 years from now, it's very much like, hey, I told you what to do. Why are you messing around? But a gardener might understand why the monkeys are jumping on the bed, even if yesterday everyone had a bed and there was cover on it. Today there's a couple different things and there's leaves and there's a chipmunk and it's doing. Gardening is moving. Woodworking isn't. Everything that I made in my studio today will stay there. It will get dustier. It will gift itself to the ground eventually. But there's a reason that we have a saying of the constant gardener. There isn't a constant woodworker. You can woodwork and then walk away and then rest. You can't garden and walk away and rest. Or you can.
No, you can't.
your garden
I have
will
a
change.
garden. It's a daily work,
It's a
and it
daily
changes every
work.
day. Last question. This will be a very tough one. Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Easy.
Yeah. You're not a tea drinker?
Not a teetotaler. I'll drink some tea.
Uh-huh.
I'm a routine-based person. You can set a clock by me. Like
Oh.
I am deeply routine. I drink cold coffee all year round. Like New England just like infused me. It's just cold coffee. I drink Cafe Bustelo. It's not great. I good enough for me is great. But coffee. Yeah, I'm a big fan of coffee.
I drink tea.
And we are still friends. And
I
this is the
know.
majesty of town.
1 cup of tea in the morning, and that's it. But I have like 7 or 8 varieties, and I change it every day.
For me, it's very, very similar. It's like 20 or 30 cups of coffee, and that's
Okay. We have to make sure to tell our listeners where they can find you. What's your internet web address?
my web address is colecookartwork.com. And my Instagram is Cape Cod Trees.
And can your work be seen anywhere? Is your work exhibited anywhere?
I've got I make small little moon-like works that are at Flotsam, right next to Spiritus. Fantastic new cool shop here in Provincetown, or at Izzy Souza's studio shop, which is in Main Street, Commercial Street, Wellfleet. I'm having a show at BBLG Gallery on Long Island, June 5th. And I'm excited for summer. There's going to be more announcements coming, but right now, that's it. And then Castle Hill, but I forgot the dates. So I'm glad I brought that up and just have it be kind of useless. But I'm pretty sure it's like August
You're going to
or
be
July.
teaching, or are you going to be exhibiting?
Teaching, and then I'll show in coordination.
Okay,
with,
so people have to just look up on the Truro Center for the Arts at Castle Hill website and find out when you'll be teaching and showing there.
That's exactly right.
Well, Cole, this has been a great pleasure. I'm so happy you were able to make it to the podcast.
This has been so much fun. I'm touched. I'm touched to be asked and be part of this community. And I'm just so excited about what you're doing. Even just like talking to my girlfriend on the way up here, the sense that someone is sitting there and being part of and just adding to the tapestry of town. And,
Has she been waiting in the car for the last hour?
Yeah, the window cracked.
Window cracked.
Yeah.
Well,
no.
Well, thank you, Cole. It was great to have you over. And I wish all of our listeners and viewers also a wonderful day. Thank you.